There's big changes in my updated draft with the Bench Boost chip active for FPL Gameweek 1. Get this video to 1,000 likes, subscribe as well, we're on the road to 40k subscribers, and I will be answering all comments within 24 hours of this video going live. Let's get into it. Let's have a look then at why I'm considering using the Bench Boost in Game Week 1. Well, to start with, I am very motivated to use a chip on opening weekend. I want a fast start to the season, and these double chips certainly opens up more opportunities to use a chip. I could still decide to go against the Bench Boost and maybe look at triple captaining Mo Salah in Game Week 1 instead. But crucially, there's been some key movers in the transfer window in the last week, which has certainly opened things up. A little bit of a spoiler alert for a certain Sunderland striker at 4.5 million that makes a 3-5-2 formation highly viable. Now, I am determined not to compromise on the strength of my starting 11 in this team structure. It is good to get that bench boost out of the way though, and I am planning on an early wildcard, so it definitely makes sense. The only downside is that the bench boost is going to contain 3 players from the promoted teams. Let's have a look at the team then. It does get a 97% rating on Fantasy Football Hub. I have only made 3 drafts this season, and this is definitely the highest rated, so it is encouraging. You can get your team rating for free using the link in the description to this video. Now, no change in the goalkeeper spot. It is Sanchez and Dubravka at 4 million on the bench. Looks like he could be the starter for Burnley following his move in the transfer window. I have gone off Sanchez a little bit, and that's because Colwill has done his ACL and he's going to be out for a significant length of time. That does reduce the appeal of Chelsea's defence, and they are being linked to goalkeepers still in the transfer window, which is something to keep an eye on. But I do like the fixtures for Chelsea. Definitely a good start for them, and it is a cheap route into their back line as well. And crucially, Sanchez and Dubravka do rotate quite nicely. I have had a look through the 4.5 million goalkeepers. There's no one really jumping out at me at the moment, so I am holding firm with Sanchez, but having Dubravka as the 4 million backup with a half-decent fixture in Game Week 1 as well is a result. Moving into the defence then, and there are 3 players that hold firm from the last draft that I shared: Van Dijk, Van de Ven and Konza. Virgil van Dijk and Konza have been in all 3 of the drafts that I've created. I am a little bit more unsure on Van de Ven. I'm not sure whether he's the best 4.5 million defender. When I look at all the assets that could do very well for defensive contributions, the appeal is the good opening Game Week 1 fixture at home to Burnley. Good fixtures in the long term. Obviously need to rotate him out for City in Game Week 2. And with the arrival of Paulina at Spurs, I do feel like under Thomas Frank, we are going to see a massive improvement in clean sheets. We know that Konza is good to have in there as well and rotates well, but could there be better options elsewhere for that 4th defender spot? I've got an eye on Juve as another option, potentially for Van de Ven actually, because he rotates really well those West Ham and Aston Villa fixtures. So that's something to keep an eye on, especially because I expect West Ham to do a bit better for clean sheets this season. Obviously, Hermansen has signed. That's going to bolster them in the defence as well. I'm not completely sold on Van Dijk either, because now we know that Conor Bradley is injured for Liverpool. Frimpong is looking more nailed to start the season with, and he obviously offers a lot attacking wise as well. So I feel like the defence is the thing that I'm a little bit more fluid on in this draft, and it's something that I'll refine over the next few days before that Game Week 1 deadline to get it absolutely right. I have managed to free up 0.5 million to upgrade Neco Williams, who was in my last draft, to Milenkovic. I've been talking all pre-season about how I really want to own a Nottingham Forest defender, and I do feel like the 5.5 million options are the better ones, so it feels good to have Milenkovic in. I've gone from Aina to Williams to Milenkovic. Very happy with that switch. And another little switch on the bench. I did have Esteve in to start the season, but I am now looking towards Sunderland's Ronaldo. at 4 million because he's got a better fixture in game week 1 at home to West Ham rather than away at Spurs. Obviously, if I looked at bench boosting in game week 2 or game week 3, then that would change things in the favour of Esteve. But I think the thing to bear in mind is that, you know, lots of moving parts, lots can change in the early game weeks of the season, and I feel like bench boost game week 1 is perhaps the thing that's a little bit stronger in my eyes. Into the attack then, and it is a 3-5-2. 2 players stay from my last draft that I shared. To be honest with you, they've been in the team all pre-season, and that's Mo Salah and Chris Wood. I don't need to tell you again about how much I love them as FPL assets this season. Crucially, João Pedro, I've dropped him from the forward line as I've moved back into a 3-5-2. Cole Palmer is back in as well. He was in my first draft. I took him out for Haaland in my second draft. The FOMO for Palmer is higher than Haaland, I'll be honest, so he is back. I feel like he's just too good a player to ignore. He's my preferred Chelsea attacker, and I don't feel like I'm bothered about the double up with Chelsea at the moment. I feel like Palmer is enough in the attack. One player who is sadly gone from this draft is Morgan Rogers at Aston Villa because he picked up a little bit of a knock in a pre-season game, but I am still motivated to have Aston Villa attackers in this team. I've actually gone with 2. Ollie Watkins is in, Tielemans is in as well. I don't want to take the risk with the Rodgers injury. I really like Watkins and his price point though, and I am happy to double up because Aston Villa have got great fixtures over the opening 8 game weeks. One of this pair should be on penalties as well, which is definitely going to help. I had considered Declan Rice as another option in the midfield. This is kind of that 4th midfielder spot, which is the thing that I have been thinking about a lot, but I need an extra 0.5 million to be able to afford him, which would mean downgrading Sanchez to a 4.5 million option. But I'm excited by the double up from Aston Villa. As I mentioned, Erling Haaland is gone. Bruno Fernandes is in there, and I'm really excited about this. As a Manchester United fan, I'm thrilled with how the signings have gone in this transfer window, and I simply cannot go into the start of the season without any of their assets. Even though they have got a tricky start fixtures-wise, I think Fernandes could be gold this season. His routes to points have always been incredible in FPL, but adding defensive contributions, they just get even better. He could be playing deeper this season, but the scoring matrix will not penalise him for that when we see that front 3 of Sesko and Burmo and Cunha. Maybe a little bit of fan bias in there. I also think Florian Wirtz at Liverpool is another very good option. He's 0.5 million cheaper as well, so that's on my mind, but at the moment I feel really happy having Fernandes in this team. Another player that's gone is Mohamed Kudus. I've actually gone with no Spurs attacker. Kudus, I'm just not convinced by his output last season. I'm not convinced with the Spurs attack in general. Obviously, Solanke a doubt, Maddison now out for a long time with ACL as well. So I'm trying to avoid the Spurs attack, which is why I've still got Van der Ven in there as a Spurs defender, because it's impossible to ignore their good fixtures. At Nottingham Forest, I am still on the double up. I still have Elliot Anderson in there, who remains my favourite budget pick among the midfielders. That 3-5-2 is in because I don't really like any of the budget forwards at a similar price point. But on my bench, I do have Sunderland's Mark Guiu, who I think rotates really nicely with Anderson. Both got good fixtures in game week 1, Brentford at home and West Ham at home. But if he becomes a certain starter, I can rotate that pair around, which could provide me with some great output. Now, I'm not totally set on this team as things stand. I am still considering maybe going with a cheaper forward, downgrading one of Watkins or Wood so that I can upgrade that 4th midfielder spot from Tielemans to a Wirtz or someone like that. I don't know whether doubling up on the Nottingham Forest attack is wise. They've got the fixtures, but they're not a team that tends to score a lot of goals. So that's something to consider as well. And then I need to think about those rotations with Tielemans and whether Anderson and Guy could be good enough to be my 11th attacker. They're the things that are on my mind at the moment. But the positives, I really love that the entire starting 11 has a home game in game week 1. It feels really strong. Dubravka with Spurs away, possibly the only weak link on the bench for the bench boost. I feel happy with the bench boost plan. I do have triple captain Mo Salah in my mind as well. He's never blanked in game week 1. 12.25 points per game from his game week 1 performances, and he faces that Bournemouth defence, which is threadbare. They've lost 3 massive players in this transfer window, and I think Salah could have a field day against them. As I mentioned then, this team gets a 97% team rating on Fantasy Football Hub. You can get your team rated for free using the link in the description to this video. I've clicked through to get my AI recommended transfers, and it does recommend dropping Konza for Brighton's Disciple. Obviously it gives a stronger bench boost in game week 1, and I think the Brighton rotation with the Spurs assets is also something that's going to be under consideration here with Van der Ven. So that's something I need to keep an eye on. As I mentioned when I was talking about the defenders, those rotations and how my team looks for game week 2, 3, 4 and beyond is something that I've not really delved into too much yet, and it is something I'm going to refine. But if you want to sense check your latest draft, do get your team rated for free over on Fantasy Football Hub using that link in the description to this video. Remember, I'll be answering all comments within 24 hours of this video going live. Help me get it to 1,000 likes and get me over the line to 40,000 subscribers as well. I'll be back with the experts team reveal on Tuesday. You will not want to miss it. Thank you for watching.